For our documentary, we decided to ask people their opinion about the Chinese Student Protection Act. It was something that we learned about in class, and we were all really surprised to find that we had never heard of it before. And so we wanted to ask other people what their opinion was and see if they were just as surprised.
Are you familiar with the Tiananmen Square massacre?
No. Do you know what the Tiananmen Square protests were?
So they were protests against the government in China, I believe, by the student bodies, and they were quickly silenced, and from my understanding are not public knowledge in that country. So
That's very accurate. And do you know what the
Chinese Student Protection Act
of 1992 in the U.S. was? And if you can say no, I guess.
no, I don't know that one.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Alright, cool. So, are you familiar with the Chinese Tiananmen Square protest?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you are. Are you familiar with the Chinese Student Protection Act of 1992 from the U.S. government?
No.
Okay, thank you. Are you familiar with the Tiananmen Square protest in China?
I am not.
Okay, that's it.
There you go.
Are you familiar with the Chinese Tiananmen Square protest?
I am not.
Alright. Familiar with the Chinese Tiananmen Square protest?
Yes.
Oh, you are? Are you familiar with the Chinese Student Protection Act of 1992? Alright. Very cool. What is your profession?
I teach biology.
Oh, perfect. Alright. Are you familiar with the Tiananmen Square protest in China?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Chinese Student Protection Act of 1992?
No.
Alright. Thank you. Can we mention? Cool. Are you aware of the Chinese Tiananmen protest? No. No? Okay. Are you aware of the Chinese Tiananmen Square protest?
I actually heard about it, yes.
Are you aware of the Chinese Student Protection Act of 1992?
No, I do not know about that.
Okay. The Chinese Tiananmen Square protest? I am. Right. Are you aware of the Chinese Student Protection Act of 1992? No. Okay.
So as we were interviewing people, we quickly realized that no matter who they are or where they came from, whether they were a student, a professor, or faculty, nobody seemed to know about the Chinese Student Protection Act. So we quickly realized that we would have to change tactics. Instead of asking everyone's opinion about this event that nobody seemed to know happened, we would just ask them whether they knew about it or not, and see just how unknown this topic was on campus. Have you ever heard of or do you know about the Tiananmen Square protests?
Yes.
And have you ever heard of the Chinese Student Protection Act of 1992?
I haven't heard that one before, no.
Okay. Hi. What's your name?
My name is Andrew.
Sure. And what's your major?
I'm majoring aviation professional pilot.
Okay. Have you ever heard of or do you know about the Tiananmen Square protests?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of the Chinese Student Protection Act of 1992?
No, I haven't heard of it.
All right. Have you heard of or do you know anything about the Tiananmen Square protests? No. Okay. Do you know about or have you heard anything about the Tiananmen Square protests?
No, I have not.
What's your name?
Kevin.
Your major?
Linguistics and Management Information Systems.
Okay. And have you heard about or do you know anything about the Tiananmen Square protests?
Vaguely.
Okay.
A little
Have
bit.
you heard of the Chinese Student Protection Act of 1992?
No.
Okay. Okay. What's your name?
My name is Taekyung Kim.
And what's your major?
I'm majoring in marketing.
Do you know about or have you heard anything about the Tiananmen Square protests?
I don't know what it is.
What's your name?
Brian.
And what's your major?
I am a psychology major.
Have you heard anything about or do you know about the Tiananmen Square protests?
I believe so, but I don't know too much about it.
Do you know what the Chinese Student Protection Act of 1992 was?
No, I do not.
What's your name?
Dejo.
And your major?
Electrical engineering.
Have you heard anything about or do you know about the Tiananmen Square protests?
No.
What's your name?
Alexia.
And your major?
What is my major? International Studies.
Have you ever heard of or do you know anything about the Tiananmen Square protests? In conclusion, we learned two things. One, nobody on campus, no matter who they are, what they do, knows about the Chinese Student Protection Act. 2, shooting a documentary is really, really, really difficult. Topic, setting, whether it's windy or it's loud, the people you're going to interview, whether they're willing to be on camera or if they don't want to, and what you're going to ask, and remembering to ask the same thing every time. It's all very difficult. But in conclusion, nobody knows about the Chinese Protection Act, and shooting a documentary is really hard.